Jake Paul beats Mike Tyson in manufactured mismatch as Father Time comes calling. Jake Paul, a 27-year-old social media huckster, beat a 58-year-old man with a long history of health problems, both physically and mentally, in a boxing ring late on Friday night. The fact that Mike Tyson was defeated so comprehensively on points was meant to give Paul a semblance of authenticity in the unforgiving business of boxing. But it didn't mean much in the end. Tyson is the former world champion who, in the mid to late 1980s, spread awe and terror as he tore through the heavyweight ranks. But in the dog days of 2024, Tyson was trying to overcome years of abuse after far too many drugs and far too much drinking, as well as recent troubling issues with a bleeding stomach ulcer and acute sciatica. 2 years ago, Tyson was in such pain that he had to be pushed around in a wheelchair, and this May, he threw up so much blood on a flight that his manufactured scrap with Paul had to be postponed for 6 months. He now looks like he also has a bad right knee. This was Paul's opponent in a sad and abject bout. The fight had been reduced to 8 rounds, lasting just 2 minutes each, and that relative brevity offered a modicum of relief. Paul received the unanimous verdict by 2 scores of 79-73 and a shootout 80-72. The near-sold-out crowd at the AT&T Stadium was fiercely partisan in their early support of Tyson. 90 minutes before the ring walks, footage of Paul's arrival was greeted with a muted hum. But we then saw Tyson walking slowly to his locker room. His jacket was emblazoned with his famous old boxing alias, Iron Mike. The huge and sustained roar was strangely moving. Jake Paul and his brother Logan were driven to the ring in a customized Chevy lowrider, instead of making the traditional fighter's walk to a stale old Phil Collins track. Tyson made a somber, brooding trudge, wearing a stark black top in a deliberate attempt to echo the menace which once defined him. It was the high point of a long night for the once formidable Tyson. He looked weathered and aged as he was introduced in the middle of the ring. Tyson came out with a modicum of intent, and he soon caught the retreating Paul with a clipping left and a glancing right. He ducked under a few swinging punches, but Tyson was then tagged by a much sharper right to the head. It was already plain that any vague hope of Tyson being able to summon his once trademark ferocity belonged to a forlorn fantasy. The 2-minute round ended with Tyson, wearing a brace on his dodgy knee, trying slowly and unsuccessfully to close the distance between him and a cheerfully backpedaling Paul. The second round was dulled by pedestrian exchanges, with Tyson looking bereft of any real intent while Paul landed a few decent punches. But the former world champion was soon in trouble when he was rocked to the soles of his black boots by a stream of left hands. Decades ago, Tyson would have been far too fast and elusive for such a telegraphed series of blows. He would have slipped under them and then punished and dropped a boxing novice for his audacity. But Tyson's speed and ring savvy is long gone, and he took his shots with bleak stoicism. Paul cruised through the remaining rounds, winning them with little obvious effort. If he really did make $40 million, it must have felt easier than some of his teenage YouTube stunts, which made his name and early fortune.